Hello, my name is Tim, the Tabletop Optimist, and I would like to welcome you to From Level 1 to Now, a series where I talk to interesting people in the TTRPG community, hoping to learn more about them and discuss how we can all make a positive impact on the community. Every interview, I will find out how they started out to where they are now. So let's find out some awesome things about some awesome people together. Before I introduce our guest, please like the video and subscribe to the channel. This is the best way to support my channel and see all my future videos. On this episode of From Level 1 to Now, I sat down with Valmina May. Valmina is a Bay Area-based actor, writer, director, and TTRPG performer. They have appeared on Don't Kill My Character in various one-shots as well as Sanguine Scourge, a Vampire the Masquerade campaign. Valmina also portrayed Tansy Rue in the Crit Award-nominated podcast CalazCon. So let's see how they went from level 1 to now. First off, I want to thank you for joining from level 1 to now. How's the day going so far?
It's going pretty well. Mostly just catching up on errands. I was out of town last week.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, did a
Nice.
walk with one of my dogs. Yeah, pretty
Mm.
good day.
Yeah,
How are
no,
you?
yeah, good. Just got off work about an hour ago, so nice to not have to be doing that anymore. But yeah, so this is kind of always my first question. What ultimately got you into TTRPGs, and how long have you been playing them?
It's a great question. Yeah, so I I got into TTRPGs from Baldur's Gate 2,
Oh,
which I played when I was 13. My dad gave it to me for my 13th birthday on PC.
that's cool.
Uh, mhm. And I had like heard of Dungeons and Dragons, but I hadn't ever played it. And I was playing this computer game, and I was like, "Oh, it's like the AD&D system. Like that's cool. Maybe I should play that in person with other people." And I would ask all my friends at school. They weren't like super into it. Um, so I did find other kids at school who were interested in playing. They weren't my friends. It was sort of a mistake to go and like play with them, because my first experience at that table was not great. Um, and but I still, I still loved it. I grew
Mhm.
up loving like Tolkien, and just like fantasy in general. So yeah, I think the first time like I really got into D&D finally was in college, when I met like other people who were into it and also were my friends. um and yeah, my I have like a an in-person D&D group. We don't really we're all still friends. We don't play D&D together
Mhm.
anymore, not all of us as the same group. But for over a decade, like I think 12 years, we were like a solid consistent group. We played 3 campaigns together in that time. And yeah, I started playing other like I really only played D&D for a while.
Mhm.
Um but I got into uh first like Scum and Villainy and then Beam Saber, which are all on the Forged in the Dark or Blades in the Dark system. And then from there branched out to like Powered by the Apocalypse games. Um and yeah, just like other indie stuff, and yeah, here I am.
It's really cool kind of getting into a younger age. I didn't get into it myself till I was about 28, I think, and now I'm
Okay.
34, so about 6 years ago. And it's just one of those things I kind of wish I got into it a lot earlier. Kind of want to go into the character that you brought up before is the Crit Award nominated character. Uh, well, the actual play, the Crit Award actual play nominated, but the character that you brought up. What is a facet of Tansy's personality that came out during the play that you weren't expecting?
Oh, oh, from the Beam Saber Mega game, CalazCon.
Correct.
Yes. Okay. Yeah,
So,
this is the first actual play that I was a part of. It was a great project, pre-recorded, not live streamed, like which is what I do these days,
mhm.
mostly. And I'm kind of embarrassed thinking about. about this, but I'm gonna push through. No one's perfect, and this is a project. Like again, it was my first actual play, um, and also I started doing it right when I had just started going to drama school in Los Angeles, and I got very in my head about portraying this character because like I wanted to do it right. I was
Hmm.
being a perfectionist about it, right? Um, and so like I had I kind of like really planned out every aspect of this character. Um, at least I thought. My concept for Tansy. So okay, a little context for CalazCon. If people have not listened, it is uh produced by Austin Ramsey, who's the creator of Beam Saber. So like all of the setting and everything was dictated by her. Um, so it is in like the Beam Saber universe. It's basically like far into the future
Hmm.
of like humankind, and it's like late stage capitalism just like exacerbated or like extrapolated from that. And so it's a major like territorial war for control of resources in the future. And the fighters in this war are in like giant mech suits. And so our podcast takes place on the front of one of these wars, which happens to be at a fan convention. That's why it's called CalazCon.
Hmm.
So, um, my concept for my character going in was that she was going to be someone. She was a spoiled, like, rich girl who had suffered a loss due to the war. Her girlfriend died in like a bombing that had targeted the rules of war, like you're not supposed to target
Hmm.
civilian places like schools, hospitals, but those rules get broken all the time. And so her girlfriend, her university was bombed and she died. And so her girlfriend had been like a huge fan of this franchise, the Calazar franchise, which is why CalazCon exists. And so Tansy was not as big of a fan, but she was like, I want to fight in the war so that I can. So the premise behind Calazar is that it's basically like Game of Thrones, but like based off of the actual war that's going on in the Beam
Hmm.
Saber universe, which
Hmm.
is like really messed up, but that's what it is. And so basically, like real people could become immortalized as heroes in the Calazar franchise. And so Tansy, my character, that's what she wanted to do. And because she had rich parents, who just so happened to be, I don't want to like spoil too much, but like they're arms dealers,
Hmm.
manufacturers. They manufacture weapons, so they're wealthy for that reason, and they can pull a lot of strings, and they can get their daughter into places that their daughter might want to be. So she gets in, she gets to where she wants to be, the front line of the Calazar or CalazCon battle. Um, and I honestly like I had set up this character to be like yes, she was self-centered, but I really was coming at her from a place of like this is a person who's been really deeply wounded and like she's immature and she doesn't understand that this is an inappropriate way to deal with her grief. And so I was kind of like hoping to tell the story of like someone coming to terms with their grief. But the other thing that I put into this character because probably because I'm autistic and like I get special interests and I latch onto them, and at the time my special interest was makeup tutorials. um so I made Tansy like a makeup artist influencer, and to me I'm like that could be anyone. Like you could be a quirky little girl like makeup influencer, no problem, but everyone else in the game kind of took it as like like they put a certain thing into it. Maybe influencer was my problem because maybe that was the
Hmm.
wrong word to use. Maybe it was more like content creator is what I was going for. But anyway, the end result is like people responded to Tansy as if she was just like the most spoiled like brat, like worst person on the planet. And part of TTRPGs is improv, yes, and right. And
Hmm.
so instead of being like, no, that's not who my character is, I was like, oh, well, if people are responding to her, like maybe that is who she is. So I leaned into that more. And I discovered like there's a really interesting story to be told in, I guess, just like, because Tansy did come from like a wealthy family, like somebody who's like part of the establishment, right?
Hmm.
Um, and her journey ends up being like oh, like I don't want to be like my parents, like I want to be different, like I want to actually like fight in this war and make a difference. And then it's like, no, actually, I can't really give away that
Yeah.
ending. I don't want to spoil it, but like, yeah, Tansy is not a great person, it turns out. And I didn't know that going in. I didn't know that's how that would end up. And it was a lot of fun to portray. Yeah.
No, that's really cool. It's kind of like starting off with like kind of like a not like simple in the negative sense, but like a simple character comes from wealthy background, wants to kind of make a name for themselves, where it's like kind of like what you said with the makeup influencer, but it's like that's not the only thing the character is. But when you play as the character and people assume things, even though we try not to, like throughout the trying to separate ourselves, our real world, where influencer does have like a negative connotation to it because of some people. But when you start, when people start assuming that about your character, it's like, yeah, I want the yes and aspect. And that's really, it's kind of, it's a really interesting idea. Like thinking of like a character that is kind of like makeup tutorial wants to do something bigger than that. And that's,
Yeah.
um, it's a really interesting concept.
Thank you. I mean, I thought so. That's why that's why I went with it.
Hmm.
But I think like I really what changed for me about Tansy in terms of how I thought about her was like I went into it wanting to tell the story of someone from like the ruling class, the establishment, who gets radicalized and like realizes um that war is not really a game that you can just
Hmm.
like play with because you are sad about something and you need to feel something. It's like, actually, no, this affects real people on a daily basis. But instead of her learning that lesson, like she just like couldn't fight her upbringing ultimately. And I think like that is like, it's sad, but it's honestly a really I think it's more common than people uh want to admit, because
Hmm.
everyone wants to think like, oh no, like I can change from like where I started from. I just feel like you know
There's always going to
that
be
doesn't always.
there's always going to be kind of like splashes of your previous self that will live in that come out from time to time.
It's something that you always have to confront and you
Hmm.
always have to work on. Um and be conscious of and push back against. It's like tending a garden, and I think sometimes people think like, oh, if I consume this product, or if I read this book that confronts my biases, like now I have read the book and now I am healed and I am great and I will do no harm out in the. And it's like, no, actually, like you can't. It's not just about like reading something and now I'm a good person. It's like, no, I have to like internalize the ideas, challenge like what my worldview was, and actively like fight against that and make different choices that I know will do less harm going forward. And I that's the really hard part that people struggle with. So
Yeah,
yeah, and
that,
I can relate to. Yeah.
oh, me too. As a fellow Dragon Age fan, what is it about Dragon Age that specifically gripped you?
Well, so I've been playing since Origins.
Mhm.
I really anticipated this game like really heavily because when I kept seeing trailers and just promo stuff for it back in what was it like 2009, I was like no other game had reminded me of Baldur's Gate 2 up until that point, and like I was just like, "Oh my, like that is finally something that will give me the same feeling of joy." And just like, I don't know, I love diving into like a fantasy world and just kind of discovering the lore. Um I think like something so Dragon Age and BG2 like have a lot of things in common because they have a pretty important writer in common who is David Gator. And so he worked on both projects. I'm not saying like that they're the same game by any means, but
Mhm.
I'm saying that there you can see David Gator's voice and influence in both
Yeah.
projects, right? And I love it. So I think like there's just like charming, quirky dialogue that some people might find like awkward, but I really like it. I think it's funny. Um and yeah, I don't know, just little goofy things in the world like it's a very like serious gritty fantasy setting where like oh horrible stuff is happening in the world and we have to save the world, like of course, but then there's like a shield that's just a cheese wheel, for example. um like silly things like that. I appreciate that. um it's kind of like how in like Tolkien's world of Middle Earth, there's like, yeah, death and destruction, slavery, oppression, genocide, but there's hobbits in the Shire
Yeah.
and they love cheese and they're amazed by fireworks. Like, it's just that little I don't know, like cozy touch
Mhm.
that's nice.
I started with Origins as well. Really enjoyed it because I was a Coder fan, still am, but I really enjoyed like Dynasty Republic 2. And so when I saw kind of like people talking about Dragon Age, I was like, oh, it's kind of like same like idea in terms of like mechanics, but completely different in terms of everything else. But it's Inquisition wasn't popular for a lot of people, but I'm really easy to please and I really enjoyed it. And I remember there's like when you become the head of the Inquisition and you're having to listen to people approach you with like just disputes. There is one where it's like if you answer a dispute in a certain way, this guy he like throws a goat at someone's
I
floor,
knew, I
and
knew
just
you were
the
gonna
ragdoll portion of that where it's just a ragdoll of a goat, it hits the side of a castle, makes me laugh so hard every time I think about it.
say. No, Inquisition is definitely my favorite out of all of the Dragon Age titles.
That's
And
awesome.
yeah, that's a great moment. Yeah.
But yeah, so kind of taking it back to TTRPGs, been playing for quite a while. What do you wish if you could go back and tell yourself the first day that you get like to your level one self? What would you tell yourself back then that you know now? I absolutely butchered that
Yes.
question.
No, no, no. I understand. And we get to circle back to my answer to the first question, which is like, my first experience playing TTRPGs. I would tell that little kid, hey, if you feel weird at a table, you don't have to stay at that table. You can leave. You can find other people to play with. And you don't have to feel bad about it either. Um, because it's a game, it should be fun. And in order to have fun, you need to feel safe. And if you don't feel safe for any reason, like you don't have to stay in that. You don't. Um, yeah, my first experience playing Dungeons and Dragons was with a bunch of teenage, well, like preteen boys, like 12 and 13, like I was.
Mhm.
And they spent a good portion of the session like ask me questions about like because my character I was playing was a woman. She was like she was a human rogue with red hair. And they spent like a good portion trying to like figure out like what her like body proportions were, like in particular like what's her cup size for her chest and stuff like, and I was just like, dude, like I want, like I'm a rogue, like I just want to like sneak
Mhm.
attack, like stab people in this game, like sneak around in the shadows, like that's what I came here to do. I did not come here to talk about tatas with y'all. Um and like I said, I at the beginning, like I was not even friends with these kids.
Mhm.
It was like they went to my school and I was like, "Oh, like maybe we could become friends by playing this cool fantasy game." And it was like, "No, actually they're creepy and weird." Um some other things that happened during that session, cuz I should have left when that was happening, but I didn't. I stayed. Um some other things that happened was like there was like some like orc chieftain that we ran into who just like kept trying to kiss my character, and I was like, no,
So,
that
sorry about
doesn't
that.
happen
Ugh.
actually. Yeah, so
Mhm.
I left feeling weird, but like I left feeling not that like they had done anything wrong, but that like, because they made me feel bad about like
Mhm.
questioning what was happening. They're like, no, like this is, you're just a girl, so you don't know how like this game is supposed to be. Like this is how the game is played. But like the thing is like I said, I had come to this from Baldur's Gate 2. I played the game. I knew a little bit of the mechanics from there, and I also knew that no, that isn't like the game is about choice and making choices and making dice rolls that like lead you into other choices. Like that's what it is. Um, and so, but yeah, I just because I think because of the way our society is set up, I just kind of deferred to what they were saying, and I walked away from that being like, I guess like I just am a dumb girl who doesn't know what's happening,
Mhm.
and okay, so yeah.
Yeah, no, that's kind of goes back to the. I'm sorry for like the visceral reaction, like the whole like having to hear what you experienced. That really stinks. Really sorry about that. That's. I'm happy you're still in the fandom, like still in the community.
Yeah,
After that, that I could easily see that souring a lot of people. And
I mean it did. Like there's a reason why I didn't really find a group to play with until I was in college.
mhm,
And it, because it really like really left a bad taste in my mouth. I did I had like one friend that I met in high school who was also into that sort of thing, a cool lesbian. But like you can't really play D&D with just two people.
Mhm.
um so yeah, we would just kind of like talk about Lord of the Rings and like other fantasy stuff all the time, and like we also, she also played Baldur's Gate, so like yeah. But I didn't actually get to play like a real like full campaign until, yeah, I was in my early 20s.
Mm.
Yeah.
if you could have your biggest writing goal achieved, what would that be? Like with you could just get it taken care of. You could write it. You know it would work out. But is it more like movies, a book, short film?
Oh, this is a great question. I I'm trying to think about it, cuz yeah, I honestly like I haven't really thought about it in terms of like what's the biggest thing. I always I'm a realist when it comes to this
Mhm.
stuff, because you kind of have to be like a creative professional. Because like it's great to dream big and stuff, but that doesn't always get produced. Um so I'm like, yeah, like I'm going to write this one act, or I'm going to write this full-length play. And that feels like, yeah, achievable, but it's not like my biggest dream.
Mhm.
Um, I feel like a TV show, honestly, would be my dream. Something where you could tell the story over several seasons.
Mhm.
I really like ensemble pieces that, you know, where every character is important to the story, every character gets an arc. Um And yeah, in television, you really get to explore that in a way that film, you just don't have time to do that in a film. It's Venom 3 Save the Last Dance, an absolute fever dream. Every character in that film has an arc, except for the mom. But it's great. Anyway, but yeah, I think writing a TV show would be really great. The other nice thing about that is the writer's room and how, and I guess like that's kind
Mm-hmm.
of similar to how TTRPG functions, where
Yeah.
you're collaborating on how to tell this story. Certain people take over like writing the character arcs for certain characters and like the dialogue for certain characters and stuff like that. Whereas like in a film, it's pretty much you're just writing it. You might get some feedback from people, but it's like pretty much just one person.
Yeah, I never thought
Um,
about that with like TTRPGs kind of
yeah.
being like a wide, like kind of like a writing room where it's just, but it's happening at that moment. It's like,
Hmm.
but yeah, no, I never even thought about that. That's really cool. It's a really cool way of putting it.
Hmm.
Um, I already catch that. Without spoilers for any of the kind of like actual plays that you've been on, what is a, it could even be a moment from like a non-actual play, like any of your home games or anything like that, but what is a
Okay.
moment from a campaign that will always stick with you, and what made that moment so special?
I have the perfect answer. Shout out to my friend Ian Walker, who was the DM for this campaign. This is a home game. This is my group I was talking about earlier.
Mm-hmm.
We met in college, and I mean, we met in college age. Not all of us went to college together. But yeah, he was the DM for this campaign. I can't remember if it was our first or second one together, but my character was someone who had run away from home. Quick side note, this is the character that I played that helped me realize I was non-binary, or like embrace that identity. So like, they were assigned female at birth, went by she, her pronouns. Their dad was forcing them, because they were like from a noble family. Their dad was forcing them to marry a man and just do the whole, good noble woman thing. And my character was like, nope, and ran away to the city to disappear, became a boy, just like to kind of be in disguise.
Mm-hmm.
And at some point in this campaign, this is not the moment, but it gets to it. The DM, Ian, he gave my character this special cloak that they could put on, and basically anytime they put on the cloak, they like people would perceive them as the gender they wanted to be perceived as in
That's
that
cool.
moment. And it was like getting that object in the game, and I started thinking about that, and I was like, I would want that in real life. Like,
Mm.
what's that about? So anyway, my character obviously had a very contentious relationship with their dad, right? Meanwhile, the main overarching plot of this campaign involved uh the emperor. There's like some cult stuff that involved like vampires and dragons and stuff. I don't exactly remember what it was, but basically not all of them, but like a lot of the nobles had been rounded up to be turned into vampires as part of like the emperor's nefarious plan. And so this happened to my character's dad, and they encountered their dad like right before the final battle, and I was not expecting this at all. And it was like their dad had been turned into a vampire and was like fighting it, did not want to be a vampire, and so like hadn't drunk blood and stuff, and so it was like very weakened state. And my character had to make this choice of like, do I kill my dad who was like horrible to me um in my past life, or do I try to save him because like he's trying to resist like this horrible thing that's been done to him, and he doesn't want to be participating in like this evil system anymore. And like it was such a good thing. I was not expecting it at all. like I said, and it just like, it just gave me this really profound moment where my character had to make this huge decision in the moment, and yeah, they saved their dad.
That's awesome.
But
No,
yeah.
that's great on kind of like the restraint from the DM or GM. I'm not sure which system, but it shows great
Oh, that was
restraint.
D&D.
Okay,
Yeah.
so yeah, shows great restraint from the DM because we always like to have those dramatic moments where it's like, oh, you find out that your dad's been changed and this is what you got to do, but it's like they changed your dad, but they gave you the option to figure out what you want to do with that instead of just being like, oh, he's like part of the big bad evil army now and you got to fight your dad. It's like showing a lot of great restraint.
Yeah, no, Ian's a great storyteller. I wish I could still play at his table, but he lives quite a ways away from me now. So,
Hmm.
yeah.
I get that. Yeah, it's one thing that sinks when you get older. The more that you have to move
Yeah.
and move away from people.
Yeah.
Uh, yeah. So don't have to answer this question, but I was kind of alluding to previously with the writing goal.
Mhm.
It might be kind of hard because you were saying like you're a realist. You're kind of looking like at smaller projects and everything, and kind of like narrowly focused on not over trying to overreach. But what is a major goal of yours in the TTRPG space that you haven't accomplished yet?
Yeah. I I'm working towards this goal actually. So I'm glad that you asked the question. Thank you. Um, I'm currently co-producing a long-form actual play podcast with one of my good friends here in the Bay Area. And we're still in pre-production, so it's not out yet. We are gearing up to record by the end of August. And yeah, this project, it's on D&D 5e, kind of a blend of
Mm-hmm.
2024 and 2014, but only for kind of the that like extra content, like Harengans and Warforged. There's no new rule set that's been published for those character. They're called species
Mm-hmm.
now, right? So that I believe those books are coming out in December of this year, but like we're already starting our thing, so we're just kind of pulling from that. But yeah, so it's mostly on 2024 5e, but yeah, I've always wanted to do a D&D podcast, and yeah, we're doing it. It's called Wizards and or War Crimes, so look for that wherever podcasts are found in a few months from now.
Oh, that was awesome. But yeah, no, they're kind of coming out with a long form actual play. That's really awesome, and it's one of those things where it's like, from what I've heard, because I've never done an actual play, but it's a lot of work, and it's cool that you and your like friend are kind of getting into it, where it's like you're able to split up the load together.
Yes. So my friend Nessa is going to be the DM. She is a multi-talented artist. She is a musician. Um, she is like a visual artist, illustration. And yeah, she can act. She can do like different voices and stuff. She's really talented. So she's my co-producer and the DM for this project. Um, she's actually like she wrote our theme song. It's like
That's
it's really
cool.
nice when you can work with people who can do all the things.
Mm-hmm.
But I'm also like really trying to make sure that I take care of like the business part of stuff so that she can focus on all of the creative things that she's doing, including like writing the story
Mm-hmm.
and prepping for all of the sessions. So like the world that our podcast takes place in is a completely like homebrewed. She came up with all of it. She created like a new species. She created a whole pantheon, some different technology that you'll see in the world. So we actually had like a 43-page campaign guide
That's so
that
cool.
she wrote, and I edited it down from like what it was before, so it was longer than 43 pages. And also she's already writing appendices for it. But it's like to orient people into the world
Mm-hmm.
because it's like an original setting. But like that's the kind of people that we are when it comes to tabletop stuff. And I'm just like, it's really nice to work with someone who is as passionate about it as I am, because I'm like, when it's great playing games like with your friends and
Mm-hmm.
stuff, but they don't always take it as seriously or as intensely as maybe I do. But yeah, we intentionally, in creating this project, Wizards and or War Crimes, um, we designed the application to be part of this project so that people would have to like read thoroughly, and if they didn't, we had like a line in the application that would weed out people who hadn't read it, because the last question on our application was, what is the answer to the last question? And people would just like make stuff up, but it was like we literally had a sentence in there that was like, the answer to the last question is marmoset. If people didn't answer that, they did not get invited to audition, because Nessa and I knew, like, hey, there's a 43-page campaign guide about
Mm-hmm.
this world. So like we have to bring in people who are down to actually do the reading and be that level of nerds together with us.
Oh yeah,
So
especially if you're creating characters that are in that world. It's like good to know the world's history, so you can kind of come in with that knowledge already.
yeah. So we definitely found a good group to play with, and I'm so excited to get started with these folks.
Oh, that's great. Yeah, I'll excited looking forward to it. Yes. So on to one of the two last questions. This one is the one that I kind of let you know about ahead of time. There are a lot of amazing people in the TTRPG space, but there are also quite a few loud negative people in the space as well, who seem to get more attention. Um, what can we do to make the community kind of more positive and more accepting, kind of more of a positive and accepting place?
Yeah. So calling out toxic behavior is really important, and also especially for people who hold marginalized identities, like we have to make sure that we are calling out toxicity in a way that's going to keep ourselves safe, because oftentimes what happens when somebody who is part of a marginalized community speaks out against somebody who is more privileged, like the more privileged person has people who just kind of rally behind them,
Mm-hmm.
and it ends up going badly for us. And so what I've learned is like, just make sure that you build genuine relationships with folks in this community, where you feel like you can trust them. Obviously, they can trust you, and just kind of like trust and verify when information is being passed around about other people, rather than just like immediately posting publicly. Like, collect evidence,
Mm-hmm.
screenshots, receipts, so that you build your case, so that if, because there is always going to be some blowback, but like when that comes, at least you have the evidence and people can't just dismiss you. Right. And
Mm-hmm.
then also something that's happened um within this past year that has made me feel really good is a TTRPG creator. I don't know if they want me to name them, so I won't. But they found out some information about a creator who is like a serial predator, and there was a lot of evidence about this, screenshots and everything, that they shared with me. And so they basically went around to all femmes, because this man, was targeting femmes, um, and just like being sexually inappropriate with
Mm-hmm.
them in DMs and so on. Um, and yeah, this person just kind of made this statement that was like, "Hey, I have information if you would like to know who this person is," because they didn't feel safe like publicly putting out the name. They were like, just like hop into my DMs. I have evidence. Just make sure that you block this person. It was not about just like a call out or like, where I feel like that kind of stuff can get out of hand really quickly in terms of like whoever is being called out, like trying to regain control of the
Yeah.
narrative and yeah, activating their followers and all that stuff. So that's not what happened. And I'm just using this example because I feel like how it was handled did make me feel safe. Um, and I hope that other people who are listening to me tell this story like keep that in mind as a way to navigate these situations. Just let people know like, hey, I have some information that maybe people are not going to like. Let's talk about it privately. I have proof. And yeah, once I saw the proof, I saw some other folks I knew who were following or being followed by this person. And so I sent out some DMs and was like, hey, just so you know. And also with that, I did not right away name the person who was,
Mhm.
harming other people. I simply like asked the people who were connected to him, like, hey, I found something out about somebody that you're mutuals with. Like, do you want to know what it is? Because I don't ever want to just like jump into somebody's DMs with accusations
Yeah.
about somebody that they know because I don't know what their actual relationship to that person is. It's just tricky to navigate these sorts of things. But it's the nature of doing collaborative work, right? You're going to
Mhm.
collaborate with a lot of different people from a lot of different backgrounds, and there's creeps everywhere, unfortunately. So
Yeah, and kind of what I'm getting at with kind of what I'm hearing with you is not only protect yourself, but if you're going to associate with other people and work with other people, make sure that that they are protected as well. Is especially when you're running a game together, it's already difficult enough finding a group of people who mesh well together, who can feed off of each other, who can play well together, that you also want to make sure that it is a safe environment for those people. I think it's a really good answer. I think that a lot of people don't even think about that because they expect it not to happen. But the situation which you're talking about, the more you talked about it, the more I was like, at first I was like, okay, I think I know what you're talking about because I saw the same situation. But with the more you were talking about, I was like, okay, maybe it's not the same situation. So there are two completely different situations in which seem very similar. And being able to protect people out at your table and around and in your that you're able to protect is a good way to make this place more accepting and positive. Because if you do go out there and talk about this and you do tell people like, hey, be like, if you want to know, here's the information, that is a way to kind of get rid of the people who do not deserve to be in the community and therefore making it better.
yeah, the reason why I say this too, and like not just like directly calling out and that kind of thing, is because um a lot of times in my experience, at least as like a queer Filipino non-binary person,
Mm.
like people will question your experience and demand you to explain, why was the thing that you experienced racist? Why was it sexist? Why was it homophobic? Why, and like that is not a fun experience. It really wears on your mental health. And imagine if it's not just one person asking you that, but like a whole ton of
Mm-hmm.
people on the internet that you don't even know. Like, I don't wish that on anyone. It sounds really stressful. Um, so
Yeah, it's like sometimes I feel like some
I
people
just,
have to give an entire PowerPoint on, was this actually racist? And it's like, you could tell what it is. It's like you don't need to give a person a 50 slide PowerPoint of everything. It's like if a person comes off to you as racist and they're saying racist things to you and you explain what would happen, that should be enough for the person to be like, okay, yeah, that's not right.
Yeah. And I mean, I think this opens up like a whole other thing where it's like, well, a lot of times people don't even know how to recognize something as
Mhm.
racist or sexist or homophobic because of the various privileges that they have where they've just never had to confront anything like that in their life. And so it's like, yes, information needs to be out there so that people can learn, but it's like what I'm just trying to say to other people is like really ask yourself, like, am I the person who is willing to do all of that labor with like no pay and just meanwhile just getting inundated with comments that are really ignorant and mean possibly. Yeah, like, is that worth it to me? And so that's why I think like sometimes it's just better to talk to each other behind closed doors, make sure each other is safe, and yeah, just don't work with people that you know are causing harm.
Mhm.
And let other people know, like, hey, the person that you just, booked on this thing, like, they did this. Just thought you should know. So,
Yeah. And it's one
yeah.
of those things that kind of sucks that that a lot of the stuff is kept secret until they've kind of muddied the water of kind of a lot of stuff around them. But yeah, protecting the people around you, making sure they're safe is great advice for how to increase the positivity and make this place more acceptable. Because if people see that there are people getting away with that stuff, I do not blame anyone who's BIPOC or LGBTQIA plus for not wanting to get into the hobby. If they're like, if they're protecting people, why would I ever want to be a part of that?
Yeah. Yeah.
But yeah, so kind of already talked about it, but this is the last question. Where can we find you, and what are you working on?
Yeah. You can find me on the internet. um, yeah, I'm most active on Threads. I will say I have a link tree. It is Valminotaur. Um,
It's a really nice link
like
tree too. That's what I was looking through it over these last like couple weeks. It was like really well designed.
Thanks. But yeah, like Valmina, like my name, but plus the Minotaur, the mythological creature at the center of the labyrinth. Yeah. Boop. That's my link tree. You'll find all my stuff there. I frequently am found on the Don't Kill My Character Twitch channel, which currently I am portraying CL in our Vampire the Masquerade campaign, Sanguine Scourge. That is Thursdays and Fridays. It's a rotating cast. So I'm on Fridays, but you should also watch the Thursday stuff. And yes, you can find me in the podcast CalazCon, or sorry, yeah, CalazCon, the Beam Saber mega game. Yeah, that is anywhere podcasts are found, including YouTube. And very soon, you will also find me on my own podcast, Wizards and or War Crimes. Just follow me on socials if you want updates about that. And if you're in the Bay Area, you can see me in theater. I'm not going to talk about that right now, but it's a thing. So yeah.
Yeah, and make sure to go to the bottom of the go. Make sure to go to the description to find all the links. I cannot post outside YouTube links on the video itself, but I can post as many links as I want in the description as long as it's less than 5,000 characters, which I think I can do. Yeah, I want to again. Let me just make sure. Yeah, once again, Valmina, thank you for joining me. It was a great pleasure talking to you.
You as well.
Thank you.
Thanks so much for having me.
Before I go, I want to once again thank Valmina for joining me. Make sure to follow them on their socials with the links provided below. On my next episode of From Level 1 to Now, I'll be sitting down with Hamburger Boogie. Please like and subscribe, as is the best way to support my channel and to make sure not to miss out on any future videos and interviews. I want to thank you for watching, remind you to keep that glass half full, and have a great next game.